philsgang.com or give them a call. 877-600-GANG. Want the truth when investing in the stock market? Here's how.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande at philsgang.com. Listen to my radio show every day because that's where you're going to get the truth. You're not going to get the truth listening to these dopes on Fake Business News Network. The other day, Kramer said, don't listen to the banks. They're giving you wrong information. When he told you to buy Merrill Lynch, remember? And what happened? They went broke.
Get the truth at philsgang.com.
Join my gang, philsgang.com. Get the truth. And also listen to me on my podcast on YouTube and Rumble. That's philsgang.com.
What does it take to be a successful investor in the stock market? Developing your skills and learning from an expert like Phil Grande and philsgang.com.
It doesn't have to be hard or complicated to learn how to invest in stocks properly. It's like anything else. You're going to golf, or you're going to learn how to play tennis, ski. You need to be with someone. Learn off of them, one-on-one. Now, that can be really expensive, cost thousands of dollars. But I have a program that you can join for 10 days free.
Go to philsgang.com and sign up for a free 10-day trial. Phil Grande has developed tools to teach you how to invest in stocks properly. Not only when to buy stocks, but how to sell stocks short.
85% of people in the market lose money. Get out of that group by just joining Phil's gang.
Now you can learn to invest like a pro with a pro. Phil Grande. Take advantage of this special offer for a free 10-day trial at philsgang.com.
Try it. 10 days free.
That's philsgang.com.
philsgang.com.
The stocks discussed on Phil's Gang are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. If considering acting on information presented, we first recommend you seek out a competent, licensed professional for advice. Get ready for the radio show that tells you what Wall Street doesn't want you to know.
Oh, I'm a money magnet. Money, money, money's coming to me. Money sets me free. I'm a money magnet. Money, 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 money's coming to me.
It's your daily dose of how to manage your money. And now it's time for Phil's Gang on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. With your host, Phil Grande.
And good afternoon. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Phil Grande. For those who don't know me, I was named Entrepreneur of the Year, and I've also brought two companies to the Inc. 500 magazine. That's right. The two companies are one of the 500 fastest growing private companies in the United States. But now we're talking about stocks, and we're talking about the economy. And this is amazing what they're telling us. Listen to this nonsense. This is just insane.
Economic data across industries continues to come in better than expected.
Better than expected? Were they nuts? Are you kidding? The job market this morning, 12,000 jobs. That's it. And unemployment remained at 4.1%. The average job growth over the past 3 months is now 104,000, down from 189,000. I'm talking about over the 6 months before that. Now, why would we be so lucky to think after the BLS and Jared Bernstein, Chief Economic Advisor to the President, Chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, they gave us a fake number of 813,000 jobs. So we're going to be lucky to believe these numbers? Look, the only number I look at, and I tell my gang members to look at, is the JOLT number. Now, I've been in this business for 50 years, and I'm telling you, that's the only number you can trust. It's the JOLT number, job openings number. That's what you want to know. Now, the JOLT number, think about this. Job openings from the JOLT number is the lowest since Biden and Harris began their term in January 2021. Example, let's take August 2024. Job openings, 7.8 million. September 2024, a huge drop to 7.4 million. That's huge. But what are we being told? The economic data coming in?
Economic data across industries continues to come in better than expected.
Well, Are they nuts? That's not true. In fact, the lowest full-time jobs, that's right, we've recorded the lowest full-time jobs since Biden and Harris began their term in January 2021. Now, when Trump was president, and he became president, on January 2017, full-time jobs were in an upward trend. That's right. Since 2010, we had an upward trend of full-time jobs. So when he started, January 2017, full-time jobs were an upward trend of 124.5 million. By 2020, he increased them to a whopping 130.8 million. That's huge. That's huge. Then COVID hit. Full-time jobs dropped. We can understand why. We went from 124.5 million jobs, full-time. I'm talking full-time jobs. Remember, full-time jobs is what we need, not part-time jobs. When you go from full-time to part-time, you go to no time, you go to bankrupt time. You need full-time jobs, and they're dropping. When COVID hit, 124.5 million, they dropped to 116.4 million. But at the end of COVID, May 2020, when COVID ended, from May 2020 to January 2021, he created full-time jobs, went from 116 million to 125 million. That's a gain of 9 million. That's a near record gain in such a short time. Only two other times was there a gain like that in the last 100 years. That was huge. Now, January 2021, Biden, Harris take over. So what does he do? Trump hands over the jobs. 9 million jobs. So think about this. Biden inherited 9 million full-time jobs. And he inherited a trend that's been going up since 2010, broken in 2020, and then that trend was reestablished by Trump. So Harris, okay, Biden, in the Oval Office, they inherit these beautiful full-time jobs. However, by January 2022, just 1 year later, the Biden-Harris economic policies have kicked in. The open border policy, kill the oil industry policy, the American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Omnibus Bill, those three bills resulted in tremendous inflation, especially, okay, the American Rescue Plan. The Inflation Reduction Act plan. I can't even say it because it upsets me because they named it the Inflation Reduction Act and it didn't reduce inflation. What are you, nuts? Unbelievable. I'd like to meet the person who names all these stupid bills. The result, full-time gains started to grow by an anemic 5.6 million. So think about this. They get into office, they put in their economic policies, let's stop the oil industry, let's open the border, let's put three bills in, the American Rescue Plan, Inflation Reduction Act, Omnibus Bill, terrible bills, all inflationary. And within about a year of those bills, they started to take hold. And what did we see? We started to see full-time job gains grow an anemic 5.6 million. Since then to now, full-time jobs for the past 2 years have been flat, and they destroyed the upward trend in full-time jobs. That's ridiculous. This is nuts. Worse than that, more jobs are getting killed. Full-time jobs getting killed, getting destroyed. Why? Trade deficits. They're a disaster. Under Biden and Harris, we've gone from, think about this, in August, we were at 94.2 billion. September, we're at 102 billion. That's insane. What are you, nuts? That's crazy. That's the highest ever outside of COVID. What the hell's going on? Now, why is trade deficit so bad? Because there's severe consequences. You get tremendous amount of layoffs. Then manufacturing plants start closing. We start getting outsourcing. Send all our outsourcing, our labor to China, to Japan, around the world. And our dollar becomes weaker. So that means when you go to the grocery store, you go to the gasoline station, everything's costing more. And by the way, after COVID, and when Harris and Biden were in charge, remember how they claimed all these jobs they were creating? Well, 70% of the jobs that they say they were creating, they weren't creating. 70% of the jobs were jobs that people already had. But they had to stop working for COVID, and then they went back. But he double counted them. When they went back to work, he said, oh, these are all new jobs. Biden and Harris. These people just keep lying, don't they? Oh, talking about lying with Harris? Listen to this. This was amazing. I couldn't believe this when I heard this morning. CNN. His name is Tapper. And he hates Trump with a vengeance. And he's doing everything he can to promote Harris. But something happened today. Listen to this. First, I'm going to play what Camellia said, okay, about women and Trump.
Did anybody hear what he just said yesterday? He said that he will do what he wants, now I'm about to quote, whether the women like it or not.
That is a bold-faced lie. Tapper this morning, CNN, fact-checked it. And he got pounded by the people who were sitting at the desk with him.
Trump said he was going to do something for women, whether they like it or not, whether the women like it or not. He was talking about protecting women, whether they like it or not. Certainly you can take issue with the language, but he wasn't saying he was just going to do whatever he wanted, regardless of, Anyway.
Unbelievable. And then all the guests, around his desk, they all start, well, you can't say that. You should be talking about that. Why aren't we talking about the generals that hate Trump? Let's talk about the generals. And I couldn't believe that Tapper, he works for CNN, but he did. I think they're just sick of the lying. That's all they do is lie. Remember, she came out and also said that Trump is going to get rid of Social Security. Trump, she said, is going to put in a national sales tax. Trump is going to make abortion everywhere illegal. That's not true. No, that's true. Matter of fact, she said that Trump was going to get rid of our Social Security. When it was Trump who said, I'm going to make sure you folks on Social Security don't have to pay taxes again because you're getting doubly hit. You paid those taxes once. Now you get your Social Security, you got to pay them again. This is unfair. And what she do? She plagiarized that idea. And she came out and said the same thing. So if he said the same, she said the same thing. She plagiarized his idea. So how could she come out and lie and say, oh, did you hear Trump? He's going to take your Social Security away. This is just unbelievable what's going on. Unbelievable.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh, my God.
It's supposed to be a
So are they misguided?
Before I play this, remember, she's after all the young kids, trying to get support from the young men. Watch.
It's supposed to be a
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people.
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Just unbelievable. Okay, so what we know is this, is that the economy is getting worse. It's getting much worse, not better, okay? And think about this. The majority of the spending under Biden-Harris, just like under Obama and Biden, goes to expanding the welfare state instead of increasing productivity, which makes future generations poorer. Biden and Harris, as an example, are borrowing and then spending to fund woke programs, construction of LGBTQ museums around the country, to fund gender equity and equality action funds, and then to fund a study on domestic radicalization phenomenon, whatever the hell that is, to fund green energy, to fund extensions of the Affordable Care Act. This is all insane. Why? Because it doesn't increase productivity. If you're going to be spending this kind of money, it's got to go towards infrastructure. You got to have productivity, because if you don't, then you don't get any return on your investment. Think about this. They're spending on the internet $42 billion, supposed to go to every home out in the country to get connected up. 250,000 homes supposed to hook up, right? $42 billion. 4 years later, not one home has been connected. They're too busy on their woke programs. How about the charging stations? They're spending on charging stations, the first round, $8 billion. That's for 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. You know how many they've completed out of the 500? Seven. So what are they going to do? They're refunding again. Buttigieg, he asked for another, I don't know what it is, $40 billion or something. Hey, we need that money. We got to have more money. They didn't even. They got 7 charging stations out of $8 billion. What are you, nuts? Hey, we'll be back more in a minute with more, and we'll be talking about some stocks here.
Want more information on this show? Go to philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-GANG.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
If you want to invest your money and grow your wealth, listen to this.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande at philsgang.com. You know, I get so tired of listening to the same garbage every day, listening to the fake business news network telling you why you should buy this stock, why you should buy, and they're always wrong. Join my gang, philsgang.com, free for 10 days. You're going to learn when to buy a stock and when not to buy a stock. Hey, years ago it was different. You could buy a stock based on fundamentals. You could buy a stock based on earnings. You could buy a stock based on PE ratios. Those days are gone. That ended with QE. That ended when they financially engineered the market in 2008. Gone. Now you got to follow the money. And we have the knowledge because we have the chart. Pro 2 color code chart tells you when to buy, when to sell, when to run like hell.
For a limited time, you can join Phil's Gang free for 10 days.
Check it out, philsgang.com. Get the truth, get the knowledge, and understand how the market really works.
Welcome back. Learn, invest, and make profits with Phil Grande. Simply go to philsgang.com. Now, here's Phil.
And welcome back to Phil's Gang. So, I mean, it's just amazing what's going on, okay? And it's crazy, the money they're spending. And that is why you're seeing the 10-year Treasury yield go up. Remember, when that 10-year Treasury yield goes up, you remember what they try to sell you. Oh, the yield's going up. Gee, that's good. That means going forward, the economy's going to be good. Going forward, that means the economy's going to be strong because the yield's going up. That's true, but only if the wages, adjusted for inflation, are outpacing inflation. But remember what's going on. When you adjust wages for inflation, the wages have gone up since Biden and Harris took office 1.4% against inflation of 20% that is still with us today from January 2021 to today. So when you don't have wages outpacing inflation, then for them to say, oh, when yields go up, this is a good thing. No. It's a bad thing. Bad thing. So let's just take a look at, we just talked about our 7 charging stations. That's a waste of money, isn't it? Isn't that terrible, the money they waste? Now, remember, Biden and Harris are spending 130% more than the tax revenue they collect. In other words, they're spending $2.2 trillion against a revenue of $4.2 trillion. What, are they nuts? Not only as their spending going wild, they're increasing our national debt. Remember, our debt is at 35 trillion, or 36 trillion. But they're increasing it by $10,000 per second with their spending. $4.56 billion per day. They're increasing our national debt by $71 billion per week. This is insane. And they're increasing our deficit by $7 billion per day. And the banks. We're being told that the banks are in good shape. We're being told that the 5 banks, the 5 largest banks, are in great shape. They're even telling us they did a test. You know how they do the test on these banks, and they passed it. That's all a lie. That's a lie. Look, here's what they don't want you to know. Here's what they don't want you to know. The banks are taking massive hits. Let me just get this up for you if I can find this here. Give me just 1 second. This is unbelievable what's going on. They never tell the truth on what's going on. They keep lying to us. That's terrible. Okay. So if you take JP Morgan, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citi, and U.S. Bancorp, those banks, remember, these same banks were the largest shareholders of the Federal Reserve. They own the Federal Reserve. They're shareholders, largest. These banks, remember, they have losses of $2 trillion. $2 trillion. Now, remember, that's 7 times as large as in 2008. Are you nuts? So U.S. banks are taking these massive hits. $2 trillion. 7 times larger in 2008. So the question always is, well, what's going on? Why aren't they going bust? They did in 2008, and if they're 7 or 8 times worse off now, how the hell are they not going broke? Because remember, by being members or shareholders, the 5 banks, some of the largest shareholders of the Federal Reserve, they made a deal with the government. The government says to them, okay, we need to borrow money. Now remember, if they went out to borrow money, go to an auction to borrow money, they'd have to pay up the gazoo because nobody trusts us anymore. countries are afraid to loan to us because they may not get paid back. So what they are doing is they said, okay, we'll make a deal with you. The government says to the 5 largest banks, let's make a deal. How about if you lend us, because they're members of the Federal Reserve, why don't you loan us money for the interest we're paying on our national debt, which is about $1.3 trillion a year. And we'll give you 5%. Now that 5% should take care of your overhead, including the losses you're taking on your treasuries. Now, do you remember the treasuries? If you go back to March of 2023, and we had 3 banks go down March of 2023, and one of the banks, let's see if I can remember their names. Silicon Valley. We also had the Signature Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and First Republic. So those banks went down because of what's going on with the big banks now. Banks do 2 things. They loan money, and then the money they're not loaning, they go out and they buy treasuries, and they like to buy low-yield treasuries. So what they're doing is they went out and bought all these low-yield treasuries, just like those regional banks. Remember, when those regional banks went down, the government didn't save them. The government put in a program called the Bank Term Funding Program to make whole the depositors. But let's go back to these 5 major banks. So these banks are in trouble, and they're saying, the government says, if you loan to us, the United States government, to pay our interest, because we're having trouble borrowing, we'll pay you 5%. That'll take care of all of your overhead, your expenses, including your losses. You'll have some money left over. Now, when the quarters come, they don't have to report their losses like all the other businesses, because the deal they're making is, as long as they don't report the loss, it's not a loss. As long as they hold on to those treasuries, even though they're in the hole and have $2 trillion loss, they don't make them report the loss. So when the quarters come in and these banks come out and, oh, look at our earnings, we beat expectations, stock goes up 30% in one day, they're not reporting their losses. What you're calling is unrealized losses. The only time they have to pay those losses is if they sell their treasuries. This is the deal the government makes with them. So if the 5% doesn't cover them anymore, now, if they go to sell those treasuries, they don't even take a loss then. Why? Let's say the treasury was worth $1 million. Now the treasury is only worth $500,000. The government has agreed to make them whole. So if all of a sudden the 5% is not covering them, they take their treasuries and they sell them to the government, not for $500,000, but for $1 million. This is how bad the banks are. This is our economic base, if you want to call it. Isn't it terrible? Think about it. Everybody's talking how strong our country is and our banking system, and we have no problems here. Everything's just wonderful. Well, it's not. So when we got a banking system where you got the 5 largest banks that are part of the Federal Reserve are loaning to the government, getting 5%, covering all their expenses, including their losses on their treasuries. And when the treasuries, when that doesn't occur anymore, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, and U.S. Bancorp, all they have to do is take those treasuries, instead of worth $1 million, $500,000, is walk over next door to the treasury and they'll buy them. Not at $500,000 they're worth, but at the $1 million. Isn't that unbelievable? That's what's going on. So what do? Just keep making money in the market. Remember why the market keeps going up for 14 years. Because they printed and put into the economy $14 trillion. Now remember how the stock market works. When you keep pumping and pumping and pumping $14 trillion into the economy to keep it afloat, remember the stock market is a reflection of the money they pump into the economy. So it looks like the stock market's strong, like the stock market's going up, and it has been going up. But now what's happening is M2, no longer are they pumping money into the economy, because if they keep pumping money into the economy, inflation is going to go up even more. And we can't have that happen. So they stopped pumping money into the economy. This is when things get a little tacky, because it's like a mouse on one of those wheels. If you've stopped the wheel, he's dead. It's the same thing with us. If they stop funding, printing and funding, we're dead. And this has been going on for 14 years. So what are we going to do? 85% of traders, remember, retail traders lose money because all they do is buy stocks. They don't know how to sell short. That's terrible. People are scared to short. And I understand that. Well, 25 years ago, I changed that. Here, come to my chart. Let me show you what we did. I said, this doesn't make any sense. Take a look at the chart, a typical stock chart. Every day, you look at a typical stock chart, right? One day it's red, next day it's green, one day it's red, next day it's green. Now, remember, I've been trading for 50 years. And 25 years ago, I said, why is it that 85% of small retail investors lose money? This is insane. Well, of course, because it's too complicated for them, and they don't have confidence. And if a stock has let's say a possibility of 36% gain by holding on to it, they never get that 36%. So here's the first thing I did. I said, let's get rid of these. Who cares if the stock closed on a low or closed on a high? I could care less. Let's get rid of that, and let's design a chart that shows cash movement. What do I mean? Here, simple. When money is going in, it's green. When money's coming out of a stock, it's red. And when it's green, if the money's going to start changing, it'll turn yellow and warn you. If it's red, it's going to change, where money's going to come in, it will warn you. That's pretty good. Now remember, over 100,000 traders, just like you, have been using these charts over the last 25 years. This is time tested. So here's the difference. What people don't understand, and Wall Street doesn't want you to know, every stock has a sweet spot. So here's one of our trades. This was, I think, IBM. So this stock had a possibility of a 35% gain. Now, here's the problem. What happens is when people get into a stock, they never finish the trade. They always get scared when it pulls back on them. They don't have confidence. So here's how stocks work. When stocks sell off, this is what happens, right? Stocks are selling off, and all the big boys are shorting the stock. When they're finished shorting and they made their money, remember, they don't collect that money until they buy those stocks back. So what happens is they start buying the stocks back. So all these sellers become buyers. And then when they become buyers, hedge funds and everybody starts jumping in. Where? At the sweet spot, right here. See that sweet spot? They start jumping in because that's the point at which you have the most money going into a stock at the shortest period of time. That sweet spot, see it right here? They match up. When that sweet spot turns green, you buy. If it doesn't, you don't. So here's a 9% gain in that sweet spot. Now, most traders never, especially retail traders, never make that 35%. They never complete it because every time it goes up, it starts pulling back a little bit. They go, get me out, I'm going to get killed. And they don't short. Well, we solve that. So when it turns green, we buy. But when it turns red, that means money's coming out. What do? We sell short. And with this, you have this help with the chart. Look it will turn red. Look, green, we bought the stock right here. Now red, it turned red to tell us money's coming out. And it's the same sweet spot. See, 32%. We caught a 32% drop there. Check this out. Go to my site, philsgang.com. You can use this for 10 days free. You also get my stock picks. philsgang.com. You'll enjoy it. And remember, this works. The color-coded chart, you buy on green, sell on red in the sweet spots. It works. Check it out.
You have been listening to Phil's Gang with your host, Phil Grande, on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. Off the Wall Street Radio Network. Remember to visit Phil's website at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. Or call the office, 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
It's up to me to